What do we really mean when we talk about good people? Maybe they're the ones who do good even when no one's watching. The ones who speak honestly, with respect, and without masks. They're kind, often quiet, sometimes invisible. They don't boast. They don't need to prove anything. They don't parade their kindness or beg for validation. And when two or more good people find each other, something rare happens. A bond that's real, deep, sometimes unforgettable. But when a good person crosses paths with someone who doesn't share that gift, something breaks. Because kindness is easy to mistake for weakness, silence for stupidity, gentleness for lack of backbone. And that's where the most toxic lie begins. The belief that being good means letting yourself be stepped on. Good people don't lash out, they hold back, they absorb, they swallow, they endure. And those strengths, seen through the wrong eyes, start to look like flaws. Anyone who chooses real kindness will, sooner or later, get crushed. And not all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, through side remarks, silent rejection, little betrayals, through looks that shrink you, through words that erase you. Good people aren't broken by punches. They're worn down, bit by bit, until there's nothing left. And that's exactly the cruelty Dostoevsky captured in one of the most brutal and honest novels ever written. A story where kindness doesn't win. It can't fight back. And it gets mistaken for idiocy. Because those who stay pure, who don't return hate with hate, who refuse to play dirty, are seen as a threat. They disturb people, especially those who've learned to survive by faking, lying, and stepping over others. People like Prince Myshkin. Dostoevsky called him the idiot and threw him into a world that looks like a nightmare, but is all too real. Don't let the title fool you. It sounds like an insult. But maybe it's just the truth, spoken without mercy. One cold November morning on a third-class train to St. Petersburg, two men sit across from each other. One of them is Parfen Rogozhin, wild-eyed, loud, and back in the capital to grab what's left of his father's inheritance. The other is pale, quiet, and speaks like a child who's never seen cruelty. That's Prince Lev Nikolaevich Mishkin. He's returning from Switzerland, where doctors tried to treat his epilepsy and his mind. He has no money, no home, no real destination. Just a bundle in his hand and a letter for General Epanchin, a distant relative from a family that no longer exists. From the very first words, Mishkin reveals himself. He's open, kind, disarming. There's nothing fake in him. Even Rogozhin, brash, impulsive, gets caught off guard. Well, if that's the case, Prince, you're a saint, and God loves people like you. But then the conversation shifts. Rogozhin starts talking about a woman, Nastasia Filipovna, beautiful, mysterious, and driving him completely insane. He's ruined himself for her, spent everything, burned his reputation to ashes. He tells the story like a confession, how he gave her diamond earrings, stolen from his own house, how his father found out, how the old man beat him to the ground. "Why didn't I just die right then?" he shouts, choking on the memory. When Mishkin finally reaches St. Petersburg, he visits the general. People look at him with doubt and curiosity, but it doesn't take long. His honesty breaks through. The general's wife, Elizaveta Prokofievna, and their daughters, Alexandra, Adelaida, and Aglaya, are drawn to him, especially Aglaya. She's sharp, beautiful, unpredictable, and Mishkin is instantly disarmed. Meanwhile, we learn the truth about Nastasia, raised under the control of a powerful man named Trotsky, turned into his mistress, a scandal that destroyed her name in the eyes of 19th century Russian society without ever giving her a choice. Now Trotsky wants to marry into the general's family, And Nastasia? He wants her gone. But Nastasia isn't weak. She knows her place. She knows her shame. And she plays with it. Her defiance is cold and calculated, a rebellion drenched in pain. "You all think I'm lost?" she says. "Then I'll make sure I'm lost completely." When Mishkin meets her for the first time, it shakes him to the core. He doesn't flinch, doesn't judge. He sees her, a woman destroyed by beauty, imprisoned by the dirt thrown at her. And she, so used to being wanted or hated, doesn't know what to do with that look, that purity. That's when it begins, a triangle soaked in madness. Rogojin loves her with violence, Mishkin loves her with compassion, and Nastasia is torn in half. The pressure builds fast. During a dinner thrown to announce Nastasia's engagement to yet another rich man, Gavrila Ardalionovich or Ganya, everything explodes. Mishkin is there, watching, calm but alert. Nastasia knows Ganya doesn't love her. He just wants the deal. So she stands up, takes a handful of cash, and throws it in his face. Humiliation, despair, rage, all in one brutal move. And then, in the silence, Mishkin says the unthinkable. "Marry me. I'm not rich. I've got nothing to offer you, but I respect you, and I would save you." The room freezes. Nastasia stares at him. There's a flicker of hope, but she doesn't trust it, doesn't trust herself. She panics and bolts, straight into Rogojin's arms, leaving Mishkin behind like a man who just witnessed the truth and couldn't stop it from slipping away. From that moment on, the story darkens. Rogojin starts following Mishkin, stalking him, obsessed, paranoid, ready to kill. "I'll murder you," he says more than once. "But you're not afraid." And that's what terrifies me. Mishkin moves into the house of a fallen officer named Ivolgin and meets his son, Hippolyte, a young man already dying, brilliant, bitter, convinced that life is a joke and death is the punchline. One night, Hippolyte snaps. He curses God, the world, and everyone in it. He plans to shoot himself in front of them all, to make them watch, to make them see. But when he pulls the trigger, the gun jams, and Hippolyte collapses in tears. Meanwhile, Mishkin is torn between two forces, the wounded woman he wants to save and the bright, impossible girl who might save him. Aglaya feels something too, but it's twisted. She mocks him, loves him, pushes him away. She doesn't know if he's a prophet or a fool, a visionary or a madman. And in one painful moment, Mishkin says it out loud. "Being too good in this world is dangerous, but I can't be anything else." Then something shifts. Mishkin inherits a fortune. Overnight, he becomes a rich man, but nothing in him changes. Society in Petersburg suddenly pays attention. They whisper about him, invite him, watch him, but he stays the same, honest, naive, untouched by ambition. And that makes people nervous, because he sees through them. Then, just like that, Nastasia comes back. She left Rogojin. And now she's back in Mishkin's orbit. She loves him, she fears him, and she runs. But Mishkin is always there, ready to forgive, ready to welcome her, even when everything screams at him to walk away. "To me, you're innocent, always," he tells her. And he means it. The story picks up speed. Everything starts to crack. Guilt, pride, love, shame. Everyone spinning toward disaster. Rogojin, blinded by jealousy. Mishkin, willing to throw himself into the fire for others. Nastasia, drowning in guilt and desperate for redemption. Aglaya, torn between desire and disgust. All of them, headed straight into the dark. Mishkin asks Aglaya to marry him. For a moment, it feels like things might finally change. She says she loves him. Or maybe she wants to. Maybe she's just confused. But Nastasia still lingers like a ghost, a wound that never healed. In a burst of rage and humiliation, Aglaya confronts Nastasia right in front of Mishkin. The scene is brutal. She calls her poison, says she's ruined everything, that she's twisted the man she loves. Nastasia doesn't argue. She just takes it, calm, wild-eyed, almost defeated. Mishkin stands silent, says nothing, defends no one. And that silence? It breaks Aglaya. She vanishes, leaves the country for good. Then, in a final act of madness or hope, Nastasia agrees to marry Mishkin. A wedding is planned. Maybe, finally, redemption is within reach. The day arrives. Mishkin is there, calm, steady. Nastasia shows up in a wedding dress, but her face is frantic. Her hands shake. "I love you," she says, "but I can't marry you. You're too good for me." And just like that, she runs. Again, this time with Rogojin. Mishkin doesn't chase her, doesn't scream, doesn't cry. He just stands there still, like a man who already knew how the story would end. Hours pass. She's gone. No one knows where. Mishkin follows a dark instinct. He walks to Rogojin's house, and the moment he steps inside, he sees her, or what's left of her. Nastasia is dead. Rogojin killed her. Jealousy turned into murder. But what happens next is worse than revenge, worse than violence. Mishkin stays with the killer all night, sitting next to the body of the woman he loved. In that heavy, frozen silence, he touches her cold hand, talks to Rogojin in a soft voice. No blame, no rage. "You're not a killer," he whispers. "You're just as broken as I am. We're both guilty. We're both lost." No judgment, no anger, just pure, unbearable compassion. That night snaps something inside him. Mishkin collapses, quietly, completely. His mind shuts down. He drifts into stillness, detached from everything. They send him back to Switzerland, to the same clinic, full circle. Rogojin is arrested. He doesn't resist. He confesses. Nastasia is buried. And with her, every chance, every dream, every illusion anyone ever had. Aglaya marries someone else, far from Russia, far from the wreckage. But her eyes never forget. One question stays with her. Was Prince Myshkin a saint, or just insane? The novel ends with an image that cuts deep. Mishkin, blank and silent, sits alone in a white room. No words, no thoughts, just emptiness. Lev Nikolaevich Mishkin, the idiot, the good man, was destroyed, not because he was weak, but because he was too pure, too human for a world that sees kindness as foolishness and gentleness as madness. The prince was a remarkable man, but fate has no mercy for those who can't hate. That's how a few might remember him, but those who met him will never forget. Dostoevsky doesn't preach, he doesn't explain, he doesn't wrap things up. He just shows us what it really costs to be good in a world built for the cruel, and leaves us to sit with it.